Chapter 23:16. When they sent the original owner to that school, they felt that their daughter was out of control. Especially when they heard that she could earn hundreds of thousands of yuan a month, including the tuition fees of the students in the streaming room, they panicked. When they heard that the original owner was planning to buy a house in a big city and even go abroad to further her studies, they felt that their daughter was going far away and was out of their control. When they suggested that she come back to take the entrance exam, she actually objected and said that she had her own pursuits. As the head of the family, Tang Jingbo couldn't stand it. They had already arranged her life, but now she didn't like it and wanted to pursue it herself. In addition, at this time, many parents viewed the internet as a scourge, so this naturally happened. The original owner also saw a different life outside and had different ideals from them. The impact of the two made her parents, who were used to her obedience, feel that they were being disobeyed. There were also the gossips from their relatives. When they arrived at work, there would always be someone asking them if their Xiao Guo was doing a live broadcast at home. Was it the kind of live broadcast where she would take off her clothes and twist her butt in front of the camera? She would even pose coquettishly in revealing clothes. All kinds of pressure hit them in the face. How could they afford to lose face? Their daughter was out of control, so they blamed the internet for her bad behavior. After another month, the couple saw that Tang Guo was still so obedient and finally decided to let her go back to school. However, they sent her back and didn't return her ID card. "We'll take the ID card first. Anyway, it's only an hour or two away from home by plane. If you need the ID card, you can call back. Your mother and I can apply for leave at any time and send it to you." Tang Jingbo thought a lot. At this time, it was inconvenient to do anything without an ID card. If Tang Guo wanted to run, she probably wouldn't be able to run far. Although she didn't need an ID card to drive a car, she had to stay in a hotel. Also, she had to go online. They had already confiscated Tang Guo's computer and didn't plan to give it to her for the time being. They were also afraid that she would use her ID card to go online. This was also a very important reason. The two of them also decided that one of them would come to visit her every week. The cost was a little high, but they had worked for most of their lives. As long as their daughter didn't go astray, it was worth it. Tang Guo couldn't be bothered to comment on the degree of control these two people had. She nodded to whatever they said. In the end, she pulled her simple luggage and held a simple phone in her hand. Not to mention doing live broadcasts with this phone, even watching videos was impossible. It was very small, less than the size of a palm. It was black and could only be used to make calls and send text messages. They didn't give her their bank cards and only gave her cash. They also said that they would come over every weekend and that she would ask them for more when she was done. It could be seen that the two of them still did not trust her, but they did not want to keep her confined in the house. After all, it was not good to stay in the house for too long. Tang Guo let out a long sigh and pulled her suitcase back to school. When she arrived at the dormitory, her roommates asked her if she was feeling better. The couple had told the school that she was sick and needed to rest for a while. So when everyone saw her, they asked her how she was doing. "I'm fine now," Tang Guo said with a smile. Then, her roommates were a little stunned to see Tang Guo using that small phone with only one function. Vertex. Chapter 23:17. My phone is broken. Tang Guo did not tell them the truth. "I'm using this as a replacement for now. I'll buy another one when I'm free." Hearing this, her roommates nodded and asked her if she was still going to live stream. Tang Guo smiled. "Yes, of course. It's been so long. I don't know how many people still remember me. You're so talented. I see that your fans often ask you how your studies are going. Her roommates knew that she had previously said that she wanted to focus on her studies, so she would not live stream. Later, when they heard that she was sick, they realized that she did not want her fans to worry. Now that she was better, they asked her if she was going to live stream. Tangwa thought of this. She looked up and said to the girls in front of her, "Don't tell anyone about my illness. I don't want everyone to worry and it will cause unnecessary trouble. Don't worry. We'll keep your secret." Knowing Tangwa's personality, they were not surprised that she would hide the truth. Oh no. When Tangwa said something bad, several people in her dormitory hurriedly raised their heads, looked at her worriedly, and asked her what's wrong. Could it be that she was sick again and did not bring her medicine? What's wrong? Tangwa pretended to be upset and opened her bag. My wallet is missing. My ID card and bank card are gone. That's troublesome. It seems that I'll have to go back and make up for it when I'm free. But I need to withdraw money to buy equipment now. Tangwa finally looked at the three girls. Well, I'll go online and transfer some money to your account. The three girls agreed readily. Tangwa did not tell them the truth because she had her own plans. She did not want them to worry about her and get involved in this complicated matter. If something were to happen to her and her three roommates were to take care of it, her parents might find trouble with them and affect their studies. They might even complain to the school and their parents. Don't underestimate the shamelessness of these shameless parents. In fact, all the money in Tangwa's account had been transferred by her parents. Her current account was set up by the system using special means. The money in it was earned from that live stream. Even though the police were very curious about the owner of the live stream room and had been keeping an eye on it, they even asked the live stream platform to watch and see if she would withdraw the money. Because she had exposed the school last time, many people had tipped her, and the money was quite a lot. She planned to use this as an emergency. With the help of the system, no one would be able to trace the money. In any case, with the level of computers in this world, it was impossible to track it. She had only broadcasted her live twice, but the number of fans had been increasing. She did not delete the second replay, but it was deleted by the platform. But the smart netizens had already saved it, and there were still various versions circulating on the internet. Perhaps it was because the police had told them not to block her live stream. Moreover, she didn't violate any rules. If she was banned, it might cause the netizens to be disgusted. The platform didn't want to ban her either. They had their own considerations for deleting the replay. With Tangwa's account, it would definitely attract a lot of traffic, but they couldn't make it so obvious. They could only symbolically delete the replay. After all, it was designed to be a scene of abuse of minors. It wouldn't be good to publicize it. But it was none of their business if it was sent out from other platforms. Peak. Chapter 23:18. However, the current situation was that no one cared about the platform's little tricks. Everyone was paying attention to this account because it had been almost 2 months since the last live stream. They were even wondering if there would be a day when this live stream would be broadcasted again. Tangwa had previously posted a notice, the next live stream is to be announced. Because of the word to be announced, countless people were filled with hope and often came to watch. They even set up reminders for the live stream. However, almost 2 months had passed. Although many people came to watch out of habit, they thought that this live stream would not be broadcasted again. The netizens also understood that this live stream called Today's View might really want to expose what happened last time and not to attract attention. Otherwise, she could totally take advantage of the popularity to increase her fans and earn money. Tangwa withdrew the money and rejected her roommate's friends. Don't worry, I've recovered. Don't skip class to accompany me. If you provoke those old men, you'll fail your subjects. It'll be too late to cry at the end of the semester. Her roommates saw that Tang Guo was indeed in good spirits and did not seem to be sick. Only then did they feel relieved and go to school. Tang Guo carried her bag and planned to buy equipment. It was impossible to stop the live stream. She first bought a computer, then a cell phone, and finally went to the place that sold live stream equipment. Cameras, microphones, sound cards. These were all necessities. There were also other miscellaneous items. She had to buy the best ones. She estimated that she would spend about 10,000 yuan. Because she directly transferred 10,000 yuan to her roommate's cards and withdrew it, they did not suspect anything was wrong with her. "Student, are you buying these equipment for live stream?" When she was choosing, a boy about her age stood up from his seat. She did not notice him just now because he had been looking at his cell phone. When she came in, he did not even look up, so he ignored her and continued to choose. Perhaps he had noticed her when he saw her picking out a microphone and a camera. When Tang Guo was looking at him, the boy was also looking at Tang Guo. "Yes, I want to buy equipment for live stream." After about a minute, Tang Guo answered, but her eyes did not move away from his face. The system sensed something and became excited. "Host, it's him. It's him, right? It's him, it's the host's big cutie. Do you have any recommendations? I need the picture quality to be clear and smooth. Most importantly, there can't be any problems with the sound." After all, the most important thing for her was the sound. The boy finally came back to his senses. Although his expression was a little shy, he quickly replied, "Yes, it just so happens that a set of top-notch equipment came back recently." Then, he turned around to help Tang Guo get the equipment. He looked nervous and anxious, and even his movements were a little clumsy. After Tang Guo saw the goods, she was very satisfied. "Where are you going to broadcast? Do you need me to help you adjust the equipment?" This handsome and tall boy revealed a somewhat shy smile. "My name is Qin Pan. I'm also a student from the opposite school. I'm in my 3rd year this year. Junior sister, you should be my junior sister." "Hello, junior sister." System, is this the character of a shy boy? TSK, TSK, TSK. No matter how shy they are, when they meet the great host, they will still break down. Vertex. Chapter 23:19. Tang Guo glanced at him and smiled. "Then I'll have to trouble you. I want to do a live broadcast in the dormitory." "It's no trouble, no trouble. This new set of equipment is more complicated than the previous one. I'm just worried that you might encounter some problems." With Tang Guo's consent, this male student named Qin Pan actually closed the shop. Then, he took all the things in Tang Guo's hands and followed her into the school. Of course, he was stopped by the dormitory manager downstairs. Tang Guo said that this was a staff member she had hired to help her install the equipment. Only then did the manager let him go. However, she still stared at him with an unfriendly gaze. Not long after, the equipment was installed. Tang Guo thanked him and sent Qin Pan down. "Junior sister, leave my phone number. If you have any questions, you can look for me at any time. If you buy things from me, I'll cover the after-sales service. If you have any problems within a year, you can call me." Tang Guo pursed her lips and smiled. She took out her phone and asked with a smile in her eyes, "Then, senior, tell me your phone number." Qin Pan did not expect that she would really leave his phone number. He was nervous for a moment and quickly told her his number, as if he was telling her his ID number. He was afraid that he would make a mistake. "Okay, I've saved it." Tang Guo blinked. "Senior, if there are any problems with the equipment, I'll make trouble for you. Don't go back on your word." Qin Pan's smile was still a little unnatural. He seemed to be trying his best not to be so nervous. He pretended to be calm and nodded. If there are any problems, you can call me anytime. System, I've never seen someone so eager to promote themselves. Was he really a shy person? Why did it feel like he was breaking down? They had just met and he was already breaking down. Then, Senior, I'll go upstairs and try it. Sorry to trouble you today. Chin Pan watched as Tang Guo went upstairs. He was still a little reluctant to part with her. Soon, he remembered that he did not seem to have gotten her phone number. He was a little annoyed. He took a deep breath and returned to the shop. At this time, he could still hear his unsettled heartbeat. Then, he was very annoyed. Not only did he not get her phone number, but he also did not seem to have asked her what kind of live broadcast she did. At this moment, his phone rang. It was a very unfamiliar number. He tried to answer the call. Hello. Is that Senior Chin Pan? Hearing the familiar voice, Chin Pan became nervous and excited. It's me, junior sister. Is there a problem? Do you need me to come and help you immediately? System, it's hopeless. Why are you in such a hurry? You're a decent boy. You need to know how to be reserved. No, the equipment is very good. However, my roommates aren't around, so I don't know the effect of the live broadcast. So, I wonder if it's convenient for Senior to help me see the effect of the live broadcast. When Chin Pan heard this, he was very excited. Now that he had the phone number, he needed to know the account number of the live stream. He didn't know why, but when he saw this girl, he was attracted to her. He was nervous about everything. He wasn't used to interacting with the opposite sex, but he couldn't help but get close to her. Sure, I can help you take a look. May I know which platform you're streaming on and what's your room number? Vertex. Chapter 23:20. Chin Pan found Tang Guo's livestream room number and realized that she was a livestream host with quite a number of fans. Usually, he wouldn't look at such things, but that might not be the case now. Perhaps other people wouldn't look at it, but hers would. System, dear host, isn't it a little bad for you to be so brazenly seducing a shy little brother? I'm just letting him see the effect. What do you mean by brazenly seducing? System snickered, dear host, actually I know. You must have been so anxious that you didn't meet him in the previous world that you couldn't wait to trick him into your hands. Tang Guo. Since when did her Tongzi become so bad? Tongzi, you're still very stupid. System didn't understand. Although I'm not as smart as dear host, my IQ has been increasing. Increasing? Then why did you say that he didn't appear in the previous world? Did he appear? Who? It can't be Cui Yan. If it was him, dear host would definitely torture him, even though he seemed to be very pitiful. Moreover, dear host even set up an array to trap the soul in Cui Yan's body. Obviously, that person can't be him. Dear host, don't joke around. That person wasn't even in the previous world. That's why I said you're stupid. System wasn't sure. Could it be that person was there? Why didn't he notice? When did that person appear? Why didn't he appear by dear host's side and pamper her? Dear host, was that person really there in the previous world? Why didn't I notice? When did he appear? Dear host, can you tell me more about him? Faced with the system's request, Tang Guo said, he was always there. When I came over, he was already there. He accompanied me for my entire life. He was so obedient. Once he arrived, he accompanied dear host for her entire life. He was so obedient. The system suddenly understood and was filled with shock. It stuttered and asked, that cat. Tang Guo smiled but didn't say anything. She had already started her live stream. System saw this and understood. That white cat called Cho-Cho was actually that fellow. Now that it thought about it, it was no wonder that dear host would talk to that white cat. She already knew that it was that fellow. No wonder the cat behaved like a human and didn't allow people to look at it when it went to the toilet. The soul inside was really a human. The system hid in a corner, preparing to reflect on itself. Why was it so careless that it did not realize this? Was he too old, or was his thinking limited? He thought that if that person didn't appear, he wouldn't be there. He didn't expect him to possess a cat's body. When Tangua's live broadcast started, there were people who came in immediately. They were her old fans. Seeing her suddenly appear, they were very surprised and asked her why she was free to do a live broadcast today. Tangua smiled as she faced the camera. Because I can't bear to part with you guys, although I won't be doing live broadcasts every day, I will still visit you guys when I'm free. Tangua's words were also very meaningful. This time, she even changed all the passwords. She definitely wouldn't let her parents know about this. In the past, her parents knew about this because she trusted them. As Tangua tried to live stream, more and more old fans joined. She also sent a message to Chin Pan, asking him how it was. Vertex. Chapter 23-21. Chin Pan's eyes lit up when he saw the pretty girl in the live stream. He quickly sent a message over. The image is clear and smooth. The voice is nice too. There are no lags. In short, there were no problems at all. Everything was perfect. System, with his looks, even if the image was blurry, he would probably say okay. Not reliable at all. Next, it was time for Tangua's official live stream. Her previous disciples were also here. She asked them to send her a private message. After all, she had accepted payment and said that she would teach them musical instruments. Now that there were still some lessons left, she had to return the money. Her disciples said that there was no need. Actually, they didn't care. It was just that they felt that something was missing when she didn't come to live stream. Then, Tangua decided to take advantage of this time to teach the remaining lessons. They had sent a lot of gifts, partly because they wanted to learn these musical instruments. Although many fans didn't come, there were still some fans who were there the whole time. When she came back, they were very enthusiastic. When the live stream ended, she said reluctantly, I should be able to live stream every day for the next few days. If there's a day when I don't live stream, it should be because I'm busy with my studies. Don't worry. When I'm free, I'll definitely come back to live stream. Hearing that she would be there for the next few days, everyone was relieved. Chin Pan watched the live stream end. The sound of musical instruments and her singing still echoed in his ears. His gaze was fixed as he flipped through the records of her previous live broadcasts and some videos. He watched them with great interest. Boss, aren't you doing business? What are you so engrossed in? Buy something. You won't listen to me even if I call you a few times. Chin Pan came back to his senses and looked apologetic. He hurriedly asked the customer what she needed. He was indeed the boss of this shop, but he only came back to look after the shop occasionally. Today, the staff in the shop had something to do and he happened to be free, so he came to look after the shop. In the past few days, Tangua's life was very peaceful. She did live streams every day. Of course, Chin Pan stayed in the live stream every day, waiting for her to start. When Tangua was live streaming, she realized that a certain account with no name and no profile picture, only a string of numbers, would always send her gifts when she was live streaming. After her live stream ended, he would send her a series of gifts. The owner of this account seemed to be a man of few words. Only at the end of the game, after sending a series of gifts, would he say two simple words, "Good luck." Today was another day of broadcasting. Chin Pan had been waiting in the live broadcast room for a long time. When he saw Tang Guo's face appear, he nervously ordered a series of gifts. Then, he stared at the interface seriously. When he saw that she had discovered the gift, he would smile. "Thank you, little brother Numbers, for the gift." That's right. Because he didn't have a profile picture or a nickname, his account was just a string of numbers, and he had sent so many gifts, Tang Guo called him Number Bro. After a week, Chin Pan had become the #1 person in her overall gift ranking. Everyone in the live stream channel got to know him, and they affectionately called him Brother Numbers. However, she was the only one who would sweetly call him Little Number Bro. Numbers sounded a little old-fashioned, so he preferred it when she called him Little Number Bro. It sounded nicer. Because of the name Tang Guo, Chin Pan decided not to change his profile picture or his nickname. At first, he was just a little nervous and forgot to change it. Now, he was different from the rest. She even sweetly called him Little Brother Numbers. Vertex. Chapter 23-22. Every time he heard her voice, he would be overwhelmed with excitement. He wanted to say more, but he was like a chatterbox like the other fans in the live stream. Some fans would even ask her to play or sing their favorite songs. But he felt that it wasn't good to do that. Of course, he felt that no matter what she played or sang, it would be pleasant to the ears. So, every time Tang Guo asked, "Little brother Numbers, do you have a favorite song? Do you want to order a song?" He thought for a while, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't think of anything to order. He rarely listened to songs and tunes. He was afraid that if he ordered something she didn't know, she wouldn't be able to sing it. Even though he didn't mind, the fans would. Wouldn't that be causing trouble for her? In the end, he simply typed 3 words, "Anything is fine." He felt that these 3 words sounded a little cold, and people might think that he was dissatisfied. He added another 3 words, "Anything is good." With that, all the fans understood that Brother Numbers was a tycoon. He was a tycoon who only doted on Tang Guo, and he didn't have any strange requests. Every time the neighbor came to challenge her, Brother Numbers would be there. Anyone who dared to challenge her would only end up losing. The system watched from the side and said, "Host, it wasn't easy for Brother Numbers to start his own business and earn some money. Yet, you coaxed him into giving you all his money just by saying, 'Little brother Numbers.' Does your conscience hurt? Don't worry, I'll take care of him in the future." System, TSK, you're already giving him dog food when you're not even together yet. I don't want to eat it. Every week, Father Tang and Mother Tang would send one person to visit her and give her living expenses. Those who didn't know would think that her parents were so diligent because they were worried about her. Every week, they would even bring some food for Tang Guo. So, her roommates didn't realize that the main reason for their visit was that they were afraid that Tang Guo would be misbehaved and learn bad things from the internet. This weekend, Mother Tang bade farewell to her obedient daughter and booked a train ticket to return home. If they were in a hurry, they would take a plane. If they weren't in a hurry, they would take the train. There were several trips a day. It was close to the school, and the price was much cheaper. After finding her seat in the waiting room, Mother Tang called Father Tang and told him about her encounter with Tang Guo this week. After knowing that his daughter was very obedient, Father Tang was finally satisfied. At this time, Tang Guo inadvertently glanced at the young man sitting next to her. Because the young man was looking at something on his laptop, Mrs. Tang subconsciously frowned. Look, nowadays, there are so many phones, computers, and the internet. Even in the waiting room, people are holding a computer and looking at it attentively. The internet was so complicated now. So many disobedient youngsters were probably influenced by the internet. At this time, a middle-aged woman came over to the young man. The middle-aged woman handed him a lunchbox. It was still warm, so she must have just bought it. Mrs. Tang instantly determined that they were mother and son. "Ah, phone, eat first and watch later. It's almost 2 o'clock. If you miss the time to eat, you'll get gastric problems easily. There's no need to rush to learn anything." The middle-aged man gently persuaded, "Didn't you say that you downloaded the video? You can watch it when you get on the train. Eat first." "Okay, Mom, I'll watch the last video." Climax. Chapter 23-23. "Oh, okay, I'll hold it for you." Perhaps the middle-aged woman saw that her son was too serious, so she said, "Phone, I'll feed you. You can eat and watch at the same time." "No need, Mom. I'm already so old." The young man finally shifted his gaze to the middle-aged woman's face. "Don't worry, I'll eat after watching this video. I won't starve. I'm already so old. I don't know what they'll say if I'm being fed by my mother in public. You're my son. I've been feeding you since you were young. It's my business if I want to feed you. Who can stop me?" Clearly, the middle-aged woman didn't mind the attention of the outside world. However, the young man still refused. The middle-aged woman didn't force him. She just sat beside him with the lunchbox and watched the computer with him. "Is this really useful? Will it help you?" She looked a little confused. Clearly, she didn't understand what the young man wanted to watch. Yes, she has a deep understanding of musical instruments. She's better than the teachers outside. I thought she wouldn't broadcast anymore because of her studies. I didn't expect her to come back a while ago and say she's going to teach the rest of the classes. It's almost the end now. This girl looks quite young. Yes, I heard she's a university student from a famous school." "Really? She's amazing. Her grades are good, and she has so many talents. She's able to earn money at such a young age. Girls nowadays are really brave and capable. Since it's useful, Phone, you should learn from her. Try to get good grades on the exams. Mom wishes you in advance that your dream can come true." "Thank you, Mom. You're the best." "No need to thank me. Feng's dream is Mom's dream. As long as Feng is well, it's better than anything else." Mrs. Tang sat on the side and listened to the conversation between the mother and son. The middle-aged woman didn't mind her son staring at the computer. She even indulged him. Yes, in Mrs. Tang's eyes, this young man must be fascinated by the things on the computer. That's why his mother had to buy food for him. Not only did she buy it, but she also had to call him a few times. She even had to wait on the side with the food. Mrs. Tang wanted to say something several times, but she didn't like to poke her nose into other people's business. It should be said that in this unfamiliar place, no matter how mother and son were she to poke her nose into other people's business, it wouldn't be good for her. The middle-aged woman obviously spoiled her son too much. She thought about how obedient her daughter was now. Although the previous school had been closed down, she didn't regret sending Tanghua to the school at all. It was also because the school did not know the severity of the situation because they wanted to teach the students a lesson. If one knew the severity of the situation, it would still be a good school. Mrs. Tang sat in her seat and didn't stick her head out to look at anything. Even though the young man's computer was playing a very pleasant tune, it sounded like some kind of musical instrument. Although the couple had enrolled Tanghua in all kinds of musical instrument classes since she was young, and almost all of her time was filled to the brim. Before entering university, Tanghua had almost no personal time. But in reality, the couple did not know any musical instruments. They had signed up Tanguo for various classes because they had heard from the company and their relatives that these classes were very necessary. In fact, many people did not expect that Tanguo was so talented in this area. Not only did she study it seriously, but she also learned it very well. Vertex. Chapter 23-24. Every time there was a performance or a family gathering, their daughter would play a variety of musical instruments and show off her skills in front of their relatives. That was a great honor for them. All of this changed after Tanguo went to university and bought her a computer and a smartphone. Family gatherings, holidays, and the obedient daughter was different from before. She would reject many of their requests. Even when she was home, she would spend most of her time in her room, fiddling with the so-called live stream equipment and doing some live streams, claiming that she could earn money. Earning money was earning money, but what was the use of a daughter who only knew how to earn money and wanted to leave home and not be close to her parents? Mrs. Tang recalled the past and thought about how her daughter was smiling weirdly again, a gratified smile appearing on her face. Just then, a familiar voice sounded from the young man's computer, causing her smile to stiffen. That familiar voice said, "All right, that's all for today's lesson. We'll meet again next time." Tanguo's live streams were basically split into two parts. The first part was about her performing musical instruments, singing, and chatting with the audience. In the second half of the segment, he explained to the audience some professional knowledge about learning musical instruments. This young man was one of her disciples in the live stream and had sent her many gifts. However, he was usually busy and couldn't watch every single live stream. Basically, he would choose to watch the replay. If he wasn't at home, he would find a place with internet and download the video. Usually, he wouldn't watch the first part and would only watch the teaching part. Only when he was eating or doing other things would he watch the first part to relax. Mrs. Tang was instantly sure that the voice coming from the computer was her daughter's. Then, she turned her head and craned her neck to take a look. She happened to see Tanguo smiling at the camera and telling everyone what had happened. Mrs. Tang's expression was very scary. The young man was attracted. "Auntie, what's wrong?" Mrs. Tang was gently nudged by the young man. When she came back to her senses, she looked a little flustered. But at this time, she couldn't admit that the person in the video was her daughter. After she composed herself, she asked, "Were you watching the live stream just now?" She knew that this was a live broadcast. Originally, she thought that her daughter had learned her lesson. She did not expect that her daughter would pretend to be obedient and act strange in front of her. In fact, she was secretly doing such things. How could she believe the words of this unfilial daughter? "This is a video that I downloaded. There's no internet here, so I can't watch the live stream." Although the young man felt that there was something wrong with Mrs. Tang, he still explained in detail. "Auntie, is there anything else?" Mrs. Tang quickly shook her head. No, I'm just curious." No matter what, she couldn't reveal that she was the streamer's mother. No wonder this young man kept staring at the computer and even made his mother wait for him with food. So she was looking at these things. Mrs. Tang was furious. That unfilial daughter of hers. It was one thing for her to learn bad things from the internet, but she actually led other young people astray. That young man must have been very filial to his mother in the past. It was because he had watched this unfilial daughter's live stream that he had treated his own mother like that. If Mrs. Tang hadn't restrained herself, she would have taken a taxi back to school and dragged Tanguo out to give her a good beating. Vertex. Chapter 23-25. Luckily, she was still rational. Father Tang had previously told her that no matter what happened, she shouldn't get into a fight outside. She wasn't in the mood to wait, but she was too embarrassed to call Father Tang in front of the audience. How embarrassing would it be if someone accidentally heard that her daughter had learned bad things from the internet and had even led others astray? So, she found a secluded spot and pulled out her phone to call Father Tang with a heavy heart. "What did you say?" Father Tang's voice sounded from the other end of the phone, almost shattering Mother Tang's eardrums. "Is what you said true? That unfilial daughter went online to live stream again." "It should be true. I heard the young man say that he would be able to watch the latest live stream when he gets home today. That unfilial daughter actually lied to us. It seems we haven't taught her a lesson yet." At this time, Father Tang wished that the school hadn't been shut down. In his opinion, as long as the school wasn't shut down, he could still send his daughter back to educate her. Thinking about it, it made sense. It had only been a little over a month. How could she have become so obedient? That girl was smart to begin with. She must have pretended to be obedient in front of them and then secretly went online to do a live stream. "Jinghua, what should we do now? Xiaoguo is currently live streaming online and has led others astray. Let me tell you," the mother and son sitting next to me, that young man, kept staring at the computer. His eyes never left it. It was like he was about to drill his way into it. His mother is sitting at the side with a lunchbox in her hand, looking at her pitifully. If it weren't for Xiaoguo, this unfilial daughter, who was planning to lead other people astray, that big sister who is slightly younger than me, her son would definitely be as filial as he used to be. It's all our fault. We didn't teach Xiaoguo well. Come back first. I'll think of something. Because of this incident, Father Tang was no longer in the mood to continue working. So, he took a leave of absence and rushed home to wait for Mother Tang. During this time, he was already asking around if there were any other schools like that. The person he asked was a relative. The last time he sent Tang Guo there, it was because this relative mentioned the benefits of going to a school to abstain from the internet. Father Tang repeatedly reminded the relative to keep it a secret and contacted a school for him. This relative was very enthusiastic and said that he would definitely help him find a good school. Father Tang was relieved for the time being. When Mother Tang came back, the two of them closed the door and discussed in the room. The two of them unanimously expressed that this matter should not be spread to the public. Their daughter did not learn bad things, but she taught others bad things. It was really too embarrassing. This time, we must teach her a lesson. It doesn't matter which school it is, as long as she is taught well. In my opinion, the previous school was really the right choice. Because these children who have been led astray are really too hard to teach. If we don't punish them severely, how can these bad kids learn well? Father Tang said with a gloomy face, "It's because we parents are soft-hearted and can't bear to educate them that such schools exist to replace us and discipline children who have gone astray." "Jinghua, what do you mean?" "I've already asked my distant cousin-in-law to keep an eye out. She's more knowledgeable about these things, so she'll definitely find a suitable school for Xiaoguo." This time, it was fine as long as the school didn't kill her. As long as she was obedient when she came back and stopped being addicted to the internet and teaching others bad things. If you really can't learn well, it's best if you just die inside, so that you don't come out and harm others. Vertex. Chapter 23-26. Hearing this, Mrs. Tang could only nod in a daze. That's right. Her daughter didn't learn well and even led other young people astray. She thought about the news now. Children who didn't learn well went to kill people, destroy people's homes, rob people, and do all kinds of illegal things. If her Xiaoguo really became like that, just as Mr. Tang said, she might as well stay in there and never come out. If she didn't learn well and did bad things in the future, as parents, they would probably point fingers at her wherever she went. And the people in society would definitely blame them. As parents, they didn't teach their daughter well and caused her to go astray and harm people. Those victims might even come to their door and blame all the crimes on them. If that really happened, they wouldn't be able to raise their heads in front of their relatives or at work. Xiaoguo was so obedient when she was young, Mrs. Tang said softly. Unlike now. She's actually obeying us on the surface but opposing us on the inside. She's doing one thing in front of us and another behind our backs. We're still her parents. Then she's an unfilial daughter who's been led astray. Don't make a sound and alert her. When we find the school, we'll go and see her and drag her directly to the school. Mr. Tang was a man after all. His heart was much harder. Then you must take a good look and let them teach Xiaoguo back to the obedient and sensible person she used to be. Not to mention anything else, Xiaoguo used to be their pride. She was the child that everyone talked about. Unlike now, when people who knew her met her and knew about this matter, they would tease her and ask, "Is your Xiaoguo still hiding in the house all day and addicted to the internet?" There was a hint of ridicule, a hint of mockery, and a hint of schadenfreude. Mrs. Tang didn't feel good about it. Then, the other party would say to her, "My Xiaohui has already gone to work at the bank. Recently, she just found a partner. He's not bad. The young man is working for the government. He's even given a house to live in. Your Xiaoguo has been outstanding since she was young. Her grades have always been among the best. In the future, she'll definitely be more successful than my Xiaohui." When Xiaohui was in school, her grades were average in class. When Xiaoguo starts working, she'll definitely be better than Xiaohui. As she thought about this, Mrs. Tang's unbearable feelings disappeared. "Mr. Tang, Ms. Zhang, don't worry. We are a professional school in educating these kids who are addicted to the internet and have gone astray. Our school basically uses pure teaching methods. We won't punish students for no reason. If the two of you are worried, you can stay and have a few lessons with the children. Take a look at our successful cases over the years. Now, we invite these children who have changed for the better to come back to class from time to time. Tell me, if our school isn't good, these children who have changed for the better won't be willing to come back, right? There are so many people. What can we do in such a short period of time? They've all gone out. What can we do?" After looking at all the information and cases, the couple finally nodded to each other, indicating that they would choose this school. This school was much more expensive than the previous one. His previous school's annual tuition fee was 30,000 yuan, not including the students' living expenses. The current one was 50,000 yuan a year. Although the price was expensive, the two of them gritted their teeth and eventually signed the contract. "Then, Mr. Tang, are you going to send them over yourself, or do we have to pick them up directly?" Vertex. Chapter 23-27. It was almost the weekend. On Friday, Tang Guo received a call from Mrs. Tang. Mrs. Tang said that she and Mr. Tang would be coming over this weekend. She said that it had been a long time since the family had a good meal together, so they were coming over for a gathering. Tang Guo would have believed it if it had been someone else who said it. She pondered for a moment and guessed that they must have found out that she was still streaming. She did not try to hide it at all, so they would find out sooner or later. The gathering was just a pretense. She must have brought the people from the anti-internet school with her. She thought that she would be away from school for a long time this time. To avoid unnecessary trouble, she pretended to be weak and pale when she returned to the dormitory that day. If she guessed correctly, the couple's excuse was that her illness had acted up and they wanted to bring her back for treatment. Now that she looked weak, her enthusiastic roommates probably would not find out anything when she was taken away. That night, her roommates asked her patiently if she was really fine and if she wanted to go to the hospital for a checkup. She said that she was fine and that she would go there in the morning if she was really fine. Anyway, that night, her roommates woke up a few times to check on her. It was rare to see such sincere people, so Tangwa smiled knowingly. If she did not have her own plans, she would not have wanted to hide all this. If her roommates found out that she had been forcibly taken away by the students from the school her parents had brought, the school would definitely find out. When that happened, the school would definitely do something about it. But if the school could save her, what about the students from the school? Also, if she was out of her parents' control, how could she torment them? They had to pay a heavy price for the mistakes they had made. If they wanted their daughter to become as obedient as she used to be, she was sorry, but she could not do it. If they were really capable, they would keep sending her to the school. She was sure that no matter where she went, the school would collapse within a month. System, who could afford to offend a woman like her? Dear host, when you disappear, your cutie will be very anxious. Don't you want to say hello to him? I'll send him a message tomorrow and tell him that I'm back for treatment. That guy is so pitiful. He's shy and embarrassed. He sent a bunch of gifts, but he doesn't dare to express his feelings. Every time he looked for the great host, it was the same. Was the equipment good? Was there any malfunction? I wonder what kind of excuse he'll use to look for you next time. Speaking of the devil, Tangguo received a call from Qin Pan. Father Tang and Mother Tang wouldn't have arrived until noon. Her roommate saw that her complexion had recovered a little, so she left in relief. I've brought back a new set of equipment. It's the most advanced at the moment, but I don't know how the live broadcast will turn out. What I mean is, I'd like to ask for your help. System, this guy, if he's trying to show his affection, then he's trying to find an excuse to test the equipment. What is it? I just want you to help me test out the functions of the device. Is it convenient today? Tangguo looked at the time. It was almost 10:30. She felt a little regretful. I might not be free today. When I'm free, I'll try again for you. Aw, is that so? It's okay, I'll look for you when you're free. Vertex. Chapter 23-28. Hearing the other party's nervous and disappointed voice, Tangguo pursed her lips and smiled. After hanging up the phone, she left the dorm. First, she went to the milk tea shop and bought 2 cups of milk tea. Then, she inadvertently walked to Qin Pan's shop. Qin Pan was occasionally not here, so she went to try her luck today. Thinking that he had just called her and wanted her to try the equipment, she guessed that he should be in the shop. Sure enough, when she arrived, Qin Pan was telling the staff that he had something to do and had to leave. He didn't know if it was because Tangguo's gaze was too focused, but he subconsciously raised his head and saw her drinking milk tea at the door. He was stunned at first, then his expression became visibly nervous. In the end, he maintained a calm expression and walked in front of her. Junior Tang, why are you here? Do you need anything? What do you need? I'll get it for you. If it wasn't for the fact that the system was looking at this guy so clearly that its hands were trembling nervously, it would have been able to fool people with his calm demeanor. I don't need anything. The equipment I bought from you is very useful. There hasn't been any problems. Qin Pan was both happy and unhappy when Tangguo praised the equipment in his shop. He was happy that she liked the things here and was full of praise. However, the equipment was always in good condition. He couldn't find an excuse to help her maintain it. If this continued, the equipment might still be in good condition even after the warranty period. Therefore, he took advantage of his free time this month to go out of town and purchase a batch of more advanced equipment. Actually, before he brought it back, he had already tested it and there weren't any problems. After all, He didn't want to spend money for something that looked good, had a good reputation, and wasn't useful. System, if you don't want to spend money for nothing, why don't you feel sorry for your wallet when you're throwing gifts? Then, Junior Tang, why are you here? Tanggua handed a cup of milk tea to Chin Pan. I want to drink milk tea. I didn't expect that the shop would have a buy one get one free promotion. Although it wasn't a special treat, Chin Pan was still very happy. Even if it was a buy one get one free promotion, she didn't say that she would give the milk tea to anyone but him. It was clear that she had a good impression of him. Do you want to sit for a while? I'll get you a chair. Chin Pan held a large cup of milk tea in one hand and hurriedly turned around to move out the most comfortable chair in the shop. Even when he moved the chair, he did not put down the milk tea. His expression of fear that someone would take it away successfully pleased Tanggua. Junior, have a seat. You must be tired after standing for so long. Then, Chin Pan casually pulled a blue plastic stool to the side and sat down. His appearance stunned a certain employee who was watching the whole process. His little boss was actually such a person. He had always thought that little boss was the kind of person who was a little dull, inarticulate, and didn't know how to tease girls. Every time the little boss came to the store, he would do a basic inventory check of the equipment sold and ask him about the after-sales reaction. Then, he would sit in front of the computer alone and write some information about the equipment. He would also list some purchase list and what could be bought more and what could not be bought in the future. This was the first time she saw the little boss being so affectionate to a girl. How interesting. Vertex. Chapter 23-29. He recalled the phone call that little boss had made earlier, asking for help to test the equipment. That nervous look on her face, could it be this girl? No matter what the employees in the shop were guessing, it did not stop Tanggua and Chin Pan from chatting. Seeing that it was almost noon, Chin Pan said, "Why don't we go for lunch? You treated me to milk tea, so I'll treat you to lunch." When he said this, he was extremely nervous. It was his first time asking her out for a meal, so he was really nervous. He did not know if she would agree. Next time. Hearing the rejection, Chin Pan felt a little disappointed, but at the same time, it was within his expectations. Of course, she would not agree to go out for a meal so abruptly. He was too impulsive. Let's go together next time. My parents are coming over later. They said that they haven't had a good family gathering, so they want to have a good meal during the weekend. Chin Pan believed her when he heard this. He did not think that she was lying to him, because it was normal for a girl to reject a man's invitation. If you didn't ask her out, she would have to eat with you. But Tanggua said that her parents were coming over for a meal. Actually, for a normal girl, she did not need to use such an excuse. Then, what she said was true. She was also sincere when she said that they would have a meal together next time. Chin Pan was a little happy, and his disappointment was swept away. Okay, let's eat together when we're free. She said that they would eat together next time, so she was definitely not lying to him, nor did she hate him. Chin Pan was a shy person, and under normal circumstances, he did not talk to his classmates. But those female classmates only thought that he was a cold person. They did not know that he was only cold because he was not interested in them. In fact, after meeting Tanggua, his true personality was revealed. He was not cold at all, but introverted and shy. Even though his personality made him progress slowly, he did everything he could and was gradually getting closer to her. When he found out that she did not have a boyfriend, he was even happier and had no more worries. After a while, Tanggua received a call from her mother. Are you coming over directly? Yes, that's right. Xiaogua, just come over. Your dad has already reserved a table. Where is it? Tangua's mother gave her the name of a restaurant. Tangua hurriedly agreed and hung up. She then said goodbye to Chin Pan and left. In fact, Tangua didn't even reach the restaurant. Instead, she was instantly pulled into an alley by a man who came out of a van. She struggled symbolically and allowed them to tie her hands. She loudly asked who they were. At this time, she saw Mrs. Tang and Mr. Tang being led over by a tall and burly middle-aged man outside the van. She vaguely asked, "This is your daughter, right?" "That's right, Instructor Sue. Look, this is my daughter's ID card. If you're afraid of getting the wrong person, you can check it." Instructor Sue did take a look at the ID card. In the end, he picked it up and compared it carefully. Although the face on the ID card was much younger, it was indeed Tangua. After all, this kind of situation had happened before. Someone had asked them to capture someone for some unknown reason, but they ended up capturing the wrong person. In the end, it took them a lot of effort to settle the matter. Therefore, they did not want to make such a low-level mistake again. "Okay, there's no mistake. Mr. Tang, Ms. Zhang, we'll take her away then." The Peak. Chapter 2330. Instructor Sue, I'll leave my daughter in your care. Father Tang looked at Tangua and hardened his heart. As long as she learns well, you can punish her however you want. If she can't be taught well, she might as well die in there. She won't be able to harm society. Tangua stared coldly at him and Mother Tang. "Dad, Mom, did you trick me into coming here just to hand me over to them? Are you going to send me to a school to abstain from the internet again?" Mother Tang sighed. "Xiaogua, you lied to us first. You said you wouldn't touch the internet or computers. You even gave us your phone and ID card for safekeeping. But in the end, you did a live broadcast behind our backs and even taught others bad things. Xiaogua, you can peacefully receive your education there. Dad and Mom are doing this for your own good. If you continue like this, you'll become a danger to society sooner or later. When you learn well and the teacher says you can leave, we'll come back to pick you up. Dad, Mom, do you know what kind of place it is? Do you know what a person will become if they stay there for a long time? Do you know that this world is improving every day? If you lock me in there, I won't know how long it'll take. When I come out, I'll have long been eliminated by society. What's the difference between receiving education there and going to prison? No, it's even worse than going to prison." Mother Tang pursed her lips and said, "Your dad and I worked hard to raise you. In order to teach you well, we sent someone to visit you every week. What are you still not satisfied with? We've done so much for you, but you're disobedient and ignorant. You've even learned bad things. Xiaogua, you've disappointed me. All right, enough nonsense. Instructor Sue, take her away. If she doesn't learn well, she won't pass the test. As long as she's alive, you don't have to call me." In the end, Tangua was stuffed into the van and the van drove away. Instructor Sue was still holding the stun baton in his hand. He planned to teach Tangua a lesson if she didn't listen to him. But the van gradually drove away from the city. Tangua didn't say a word, let alone struggle. She sat alone in her seat, sulking. Her face was dejected, and she looked dejected and dispirited. When Instructor Sue saw this, he didn't want to use the stun baton. He also didn't want to say anything. He didn't want to face the consequences. He thought that he would wait until Tangua went to school before she would react and resist fiercely. However, when she arrived at school, she did not resist. She basically did whatever she was told and was extremely obedient. Even if it was her first day here and she was asked to clean the toilets, she would clean the toilets. In reality, Instructor Sue did not know that the audience on a certain live streaming platform was boiling with excitement. This was because they accidentally came to the Today's Highlights live broadcast room and found that the host had announced the time of the next live broadcast. The live stream was scheduled for 3 days later, but there was no specific time. In short, whether there was a specific time or not, the audience didn't care. What they cared about was that after more than 3 months, the broadcast room that had caused a sensation back then was going to be broadcasted again. Previously, the police had been watching this for a long time, but they didn't wait for the next live broadcast. They all thought that the host of this live broadcast room was trying to help when she saw injustice. She wanted to expose the evil doings of the Quit Internet Addiction School. However, she didn't have enough power on her own, so she chose to use this method to expose all the evil doings in front of the public. Peak. Chapter 23:31. Therefore, after more than 3 months, they had so many important cases to deal with every day. How could they keep paying attention to this place? Speaking of which, the streamer in this live stream room did not do anything illegal. There was no need to waste the police force watching her. Now that the live stream room was going to be broadcasted again, the audience was excited, but the police did not notice it for the time being. As for the administrator of the platform, he had noticed it, but he planned to see what content this streamer was going to broadcast. If it was the same as the previous time, it would not be too late to inform the police. If it was not, there was no need to inform them in advance and waste their time. In fact, the administrator of the platform was very happy that this live stream room could be broadcasted again. Because of this live stream room, the traffic of their platform had multiplied several times in the past few months. At this time, Tang Guo was living the same life as in the school. Every day, she woke up early on time to run and exercise. If she could not get up, she would be severely punished. If she was not punished, she would be punished by not having breakfast, or she would be punished by running 10 or 20 laps. They could only eat after they were done with their run. If she dared to resist, there would be other punishments. In short, the administrator of this school would think of all kinds of ways to torture the students who were sent here. Even the most obedient students could not escape punishment completely. They would be hit with a ruler a few times. After 2 days of observation, Tang Guo's palms were red and swollen again. This was because she cooperated with all her strength to avoid other punishments. Because she was more obedient and did not cause trouble, it was difficult to find an excuse to punish her. Also, her parents and instructor Sue had warned them that she was bad at learning online and was very good at lying. Even if she pretended to be obedient, they should not be deceived by her obedient appearance. If they were not careful, she might take advantage of them. Therefore, even if she was obedient, the administrator of the school kept watching her. No matter how she behaved, she could not gain their trust. In fact, these people in the school were really overthinking. If Tang Guo wanted to leave this place, it would be easy. If she did not want to come, no one could force her. She was not pretending to be obedient to wait for an opportunity to escape. She just did not want to be punished. It was fine if she was hit twice, but if she really made a mistake like those girls who stuck out their buttocks for no reason, they might even pull off her underwear and hit her with a ruler. That was not something she could tolerate. There were also dragon whips here, the kind made of steel. Regardless of whether they were male or female, as long as they made a mistake to the extent of being punished by the dragon whip, they would not be able to escape. Not only would he not be able to escape, when he was punished, he would be watched by the entire school as a warning to the other disobedient students. Late at night, the system spoke. Dear host, your cutie sent you a message asking when you're coming back to school. Help me reply tomorrow morning. Just say that you don't know and that you haven't recovered from your illness. Once you've recovered, you can go back. After Tanguo was taken away that day, Qin Pan seemed to have thought of something and contacted her. It was just that her phone had been confiscated, but the card on it had been removed by Tanguo. However, as long as Qin Pan wanted to find her, he could use his phone to send her a message. If he called, it might not be possible. Tanguo's excuse was that the hospital needed to be quiet and it was best not to make any calls. She didn't know if he believed her or not. Vertex. Chapter 2332. He definitely won't believe it, but since it's the great host's words, he probably won't care. He's lost his integrity a long time ago. For this person, the system was completely speechless. In the morning, Qin Pan received a reply from Tanguo. Looking at this message, he fell into deep thought. After they parted that day, she didn't return to school. This was what he asked her roommate about. Her roommate said that her illness acted up again. She also said that her complexion didn't look right the night before. She probably couldn't take it anymore and was brought back by her parents. As for what illness she was suffering from, Tanguo didn't say it herself. It wasn't their place to ask. They only said that it should be quite serious. Everything looked perfect. There were no flaws at all. However, Qin Pan clearly remembered that she came to the shop to look for him that morning and gave him milk tea. Her complexion was rosy and there was nothing wrong with her. When they heard that she didn't return to school and left directly without taking anything with her, her parents hurriedly called the counselor that day and asked her to take a long leave. Qin Pan still felt that something was wrong, but now that Tanguo had replied to him, it meant that she was safe. Then he would wait a little longer. Maybe, he could ask which hospital she was at and find some time to visit her. Thinking of this excuse, Qin Pan immediately sent a message over. After Tanguo received the message, she said, "Just find an excuse and say thank you for his kindness." How could she tell him the school? Qin Pan must be suspicious. She hoped that he would be smart and not ruin her plans. Now that she could still contact him, he wouldn't be so stupid as to call the police, right? The system asked meekly, "If he really calls the police and wants to save the great host and ruin your plans, what will you do?" "What else can I do? Of course, I choose to forgive him. My parents are stubborn and controlling. They can't be solved by calling the police. If this school doesn't work, they'll send me to another school. Also, if I call the police, there won't be any concrete evidence. No one can do anything about this school." The system thought about it and agreed. If things got out of hand, at most, one enthusiastic schoolmate would get involved. If they couldn't find any evidence, it wouldn't be of much use. Qin Pan didn't feel good when he saw the rejection message. Thinking about how she was sick and how serious it sounded, he actually refused to visit her. Was he being too abrupt? Tanguo had been in the school for a few days now. Today was the day she would start her live broadcast again. The system had told her that although the stream was not live yet, there were many people watching the stream when it was midnight. The bullet screen was the kind that disappeared in an instant. They were basically asking when the streamer was going to start broadcasting. At this time, it was 5:30 p.m. She started the broadcast, and a familiar female voice rang out in the broadcast room, reaching the ears of every viewer in the broadcast room. "After more than 3 months, we meet again. Actually, if it's not necessary, I don't want to meet you at all. Host, I've missed you so much. What are you broadcasting today? Same as before, or are you going to switch to broadcasting something else? It's a live broadcast. Don't just talk. Show some pictures." The comments floated past one by one. In order to make her appear, some people even began to throw gifts and clamor for her to appear. Vertex. Chapter 23:33. They were all guessing what Tang Guo was going to broadcast next. Vaguely, they felt that the content she was going to broadcast would be different from the rest. Sure enough, a scene appeared on the black screen of the live stream. At this time, the light was still very dim. However, they could vaguely see that the scene was in a place similar to a sports field. The scene in the live stream kept moving. When they looked carefully, they realized that it seemed to be a morning run. It can't be. Host, you woke up so early and you're showing us this. No matter how many viewers in the live stream complained about how boring this was, Tang Guo ignored them. Soon, someone found a clue. Most of these runners seem to be in their teens. You can tell from their height and body shape. Actually, what I want to say is that their faces are covered again. I think they're deliberately mystifying things. They must be trying to take advantage of the popularity they gained last time to change their style, gain more fans, and make more money. Many people wanted to leave, but they were afraid of missing out on something exciting. Especially when they saw that the faces of the runners were pixelated, they subconsciously thought that this live stream wouldn't be simple. Just as they were wondering, they suddenly heard a girl scream. Then, the scene in the live stream changed and they saw a girl fall to the ground. However, what shocked them was that none of the runners stopped to help the girl. Instead, they moved in another direction and continued running as if they couldn't stop. Get up and continue. A cold voice sounded in the live stream. Everyone couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. Sure enough, things weren't simple. Although the person who spoke didn't show his face, he was so cold. It wasn't like he was training soldiers. A delicate girl had fallen. She should at least take a break before running. I can't run anymore. Let me rest. After I rest for a while, I'll definitely run. The girl's pleading seemed quite normal. Everyone thought that the other party might agree. However, the next scene made their hearts turn cold. They saw a whip made of an unknown material directly hit the girl's body. She screamed in pain. The cold voice continued, "Get up and run. Don't pretend to be dead. Hurry up." The girl was whipped and was in so much pain that she couldn't get up. Then, the screen actually showed that person walking over and kicking her in the stomach. He even said mockingly, "The last time you ran, you pretended to be sick and didn't want to run. This time, you're pretending again." The girl was in so much pain that she was sweating profusely. Last time, she was faking it. This time, she really couldn't run. It wasn't an act. "My legs are weak. Get up quickly." The audience watching the live stream on the other side of the screen could not help but cover their mouths. Most of them had forgotten to send comments. Wasn't this too cruel and unreasonable? Then, they saw this cold person hitting and kicking the girl. At first, the girl could only grunt a little. In the end, her voice became softer and softer. That person seemed to have realized that she really couldn't get up, so he didn't do anything to her. Not long after, a few people came and lifted the girl up. After the female administrator's examination, it turned out that the woman's menstrual period came, so she couldn't hold on to the long-distance running. She was also beaten so hard by him that she was now unconscious. Vertex. Chapter 23:34. The audience thought that they would at least send the girl to the hospital. Although they couldn't see her face, they could tell that it was serious and she had to go for a checkup. Unexpectedly, the voice was still cold. "She's disobedient. She pretended to be sick and that's why her body is so weak. She fainted after a few kicks. She's too weak. I heard that she likes skinny bodies. She often reads all kinds of diet recipes online and spends a lot of money. I think that's how her body collapsed. Children these days are getting harder and harder to teach. At first, there was nothing wrong with what he said. However, when they combined it with his previous actions, the audience felt a chill run down their spines. What kind of person could be so violent and say such things at the same time? They had already guessed that this was probably a school like the one from before. When they thought about what happened to those children, many people started to curse. Then, the live broadcast room was filled with all kinds of abuse. Meanwhile, the administrator of the platform saw this and immediately contacted the police to explain the situation. When they heard this, the police were very concerned and quickly started to watch. They hadn't seen any information yet, so they didn't rush him. They could feel something. Since this person chose to do a live broadcast at this time, he would definitely reveal some information. At this moment, another infuriating scene appeared on the live broadcast room. When she wakes up, she won't eat today. Doesn't she like to read diet recipes online? Let her starve. When she learns to be obedient, we'll let her eat. Her parents said that not only do they want her to be obedient and not spend money to buy those recipes, but they also want her to gain 20 kilograms when she leaves this school. Instructor Sue, if she starves now, won't she become skinny? It'll be hard to explain then. It's just a process. When she's starving, she'll eat more than anyone else. Let's not talk about 20 kilograms, even 30 kilograms will be easy. After all, this girl's parents gave her an extra $5,000 every month for her living expenses in order to let her gain some weight. They had to think of a way to let this girl who ate less than a cat eat more so that she could gain 20 kilograms faster. The audience stared at the girl who was as thin as a bamboo pole and thought to themselves, she's quite skinny. Even if it's too extreme to lose weight, you can't send your child to such a devilish place to torment her. Host, please expose this man. Host, please expose this demon. In the end, the bullet screen in the live broadcast room became, Host, expose him, hurry up and expose this crazy thing. Because of this, many people even began to send gifts. In short, they wanted to attract Tangua's attention. Tangua looked at the angry faces of the crowd and said softly, Okay, I'll satisfy you. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone stared unblinkingly at the screen of the live broadcast room. The camera seemed to move toward the man's face, exposing his entire face in an instant. As expected, ugly people are more mischievous. The live broadcast room was filled with curses again. At the same time, other people were exposed on the screen. Tangua was not afraid that the audience would take screenshots and spread them on the internet. The signal here was actually not good. In addition, she had tampered with the system, so the signal was even worse. Vertex. Chapter 23:35. Moreover, there weren't many people watching the live broadcast at this time. In terms of the whole country, it was a very small portion. Perverts like this school wouldn't pay attention to these things. The remaining time was enough for her to film every corner of the school. She remembered that a student had escaped yesterday and was still locked up in a small dark room. It seemed that he would be watched by everyone later and be punished with a dragon whip. Because she wasn't free, she simply didn't run around, nor did she watch the male student who was caught yesterday. After the morning run, it was time for breakfast. After breakfast, it was time for class, but today, the school was going to publicly punish the disobedient male student who was caught after escaping. All the people in the school were gathered and stood on the field. Tangua was considered one of the older ones here. She was 18 years old this year and was relatively tall. Perhaps because she was the focus of attention, she was so obedient when she just came in. The school administrator didn't believe her and arranged for her to be at the front to watch the male student being punished. Not long after, the male student was brought over. He looked about the same age as her, maybe a little older or a little younger. Anyway, there wouldn't be much difference. The other party was escorted over by two very burly men. His face was still bruised and red. It seemed that he had been beaten up a lot. However, he seemed to have a bad temper. He turned his head and spat a mouthful of saliva on Officer Sue's face. Officer Sue wiped his face and walked over with a sullen face. He kicked him in the stomach a few times in succession. "Brat, you'll have a good time later." Even after being kicked a few times, the boy only frowned in pain. He curled up his body and groaned a few times. He didn't beg for mercy, nor did he scream. Officer Sue wiped her face with tissue paper and wiped the saliva off it. She looked at the boy with a fierce gaze. Through the screen, everyone felt the horror of her gaze and took a step back in fear. Everyone became nervous. What kind of punishment would this boy receive next? Thinking of what they had seen before, the punishment would probably be very serious. Everyone's hearts were in their throats, and they kept sending bullet screen comments saying what to do. Some people even asked Tangwa why she didn't help. Tangwa didn't respond, and some people scolded her for being cold-blooded. However, the momentum wasn't stirred up. Someone should have scolded back for her. There are so many people. How can the streamer save people alone? If he tried to save someone, wouldn't he end up losing his life? Now that the streamer had exposed everything, he could still collect evidence. When the time came, with evidence, this school could be shut down. Then, more people could be saved and people would understand how terrifying this school was. In the future, those muddle-headed parents will never consider sending their children to this man-eating place again. That's right. It's easy for you to say that. The streamer is much better than someone like you who only knows how to talk shit. No matter how noisy the live broadcast was, no one missed anything. In fact, in order not to be disturbed, they even put on earphones to listen. Captain He, this boy will probably be severely punished. What should we do? What else can we do? I think the people in the live broadcast room are right. We need to calm down now. We don't even know the address for the time being. Are we supposed to fly there? Let's take a look first. When we find out the address and the identity of this person, we'll take action immediately. Vertex. Chapter 2336. Yes, Captain He. The young police officer who asked the question heaved a sigh of relief. These children were too pitiful. People who opened such schools were fucking inhumane. This student is called Lu Qian. He is addicted to the internet all day. After graduating from high school, he didn't go to university. He didn't go to work and only knew how to play games all day. Not only did he play by himself, but he also played with others. In order to play games, he didn't listen to his parents who raised him and was unwilling to go out and find a proper job. So his parents spent a lot of money to send him here to receive education. They hoped that he could turn over a new leaf and return to a normal life. They hoped that he could listen to his parents, find a job, get married, and have children. But after coming here for a few months, we all thought that he was getting better. In the end, I didn't expect him to be pretending. He pretended for 3 months. Do you know why he exposed his true form and wanted to escape? Instructor Sue's sharp gaze swept across everyone one by one. Finally, his gaze landed on Tangwa's face, as if he was speaking specifically to her. Because the day before yesterday, his parents came to visit him and he expressed that he wanted to go out. In the end, his parents didn't agree and asked him to stay for another half a year. If he's still so obedient, come and fetch him. Then, he escaped yesterday. If we hadn't reacted quickly, he might have succeeded. See, his parents didn't agree and he resisted. It can be seen that he doesn't care about his parents at all. Raising such a heartless and ungrateful son, I feel bitterly disappointed for his parents. Get them to come and let me out first. You can send me in again in the future. Lu Qian spoke. He lowered his head and pursed his lips. I really have something important to do. After this, you can lock me up for as long as you want. At the same time, a group of spectators watching the live stream jumped up. Boss, is that Boss's voice? Fuck, no way. Boss was sent to a school by his parents. No wonder we couldn't contact Boss. We thought he secretly went home and didn't want our team anymore. So, it's not that Boss doesn't want us. He was sent to this godforsaken place by his parents. Hurry up and think of a way. How can we get Boss out? Lu Qian, the members of your battle team confirmed it over and over again. Even if that person's face was pixelated, based on his tone and figure, he should be their boss. Their first thought was to call the police. Then, the police responded that they were following up on the case. Of course, he also asked who their boss was. When they said that it was the boy who was talking on the screen, the other side took it even more seriously. Police uncle, you must save Boss as soon as possible. For the upcoming competition, our entire team has been preparing for a long time. If we don't come out soon, we will miss the registration time. Boss is the soul of our entire team. Without him, we really can't hold it together. Even if we registered, we might not be able to get in. They had called the police, but they didn't think it was enough. She already knew that Lu Qian wasn't on good terms with his family, but she didn't expect his parents to do such a thing. The eldest son was already an adult and was a free person. Even his parents had no right to restrict his personal freedom. Therefore, they wanted to appeal to the fans to protect him. Vertex. Chapter 2338. The second scene was the current scene of Instructor Su punishing Lu Qian. Every time he was hit, he only grunted. He didn't scream or beg for mercy. This couldn't help but remind people of the way he admitted defeat when he wanted to go back and do something very important. It was even more heartbreaking. In the third frame, the two of them sat by the side and mocked this group of overconfident teachers who wanted to escape. The fourth frame was wearing a white coat and standing not far from Officer Su. When the camera was aimed at him, he was saying, "This kid is very strong. It won't be a problem to hit him twice. Teach him a good lesson. If he's still disobedient, send him to me later. I'll give him an electric shock treatment every day. Let's see if he's still obedient." These words, which were said in a relaxed and calm tone, made the onlookers' scalps tingle. Lu Qian's fans looked at this guy in the white coat and couldn't help but curse. The fifth frame was interesting. It seemed to be in a room with two people sleeping. Just as everyone was puzzled, Tanggua's voice sounded. At the same time, the camera gave a close-up of the man who had yet to wake up. This is the principal of this school. The woman beside him is not his wife. Audience, broadcaster, you're so humorous, ah. This woman is the school's female administrator. She teaches female students female German classes. Tanggua's words shocked everyone. They knew that in some schools, there would be all kinds of miscellaneous classes, especially this kind of female ethics class, which was really very common. Audience, interesting. The person who teaches female German is actually teaching on the principal's bed. Broadcaster, give more close-up shots. If you know how to take more. Expose them all. Broadcaster, please take a close-up. Expose. Expose. Tanggua naturally satisfied them and gave the two people who were still in a deep sleep a big close-up. Soon, the principal's cell phone rang. Even though Lu Qian was still suffering, everyone was still very excited when they saw the principal's call. Looking at this place, they recalled what happened in that school previously. Could it be that someone called him to inform him of this? Unfortunately, it was too late. Everyone held their breaths and looked at the principal's dazed eyes as he reached out his chubby and slightly flabby arm to look for his cell phone. What? What did you say? When they saw the principal suddenly open his eyes and ask in disbelief, they finally heaved a sigh of relief. Your school is in trouble and you're still sleeping? Pigs, get up quickly, damn it. I didn't expect you to have a camera here. Not only that, but you also have a listening device. You're on your own. The principal was still in a daze, and the call had been hung up. After sitting on the edge of the bed for 2 minutes, he came to his senses and scrambled to find clothes to wear. Everyone looked at his ugly appearance and laughed like crazy. Their hearts were greatly relieved. What happened? Hearing a woman's voice, the people in the live broadcast room went crazy. It's the one who taught Nuda to wake up. The woman didn't know that someone was filming her. She lifted the blanket and got up. Although she didn't have any clothes on, the host didn't seem to be the kind of person who liked color. She actually censored the important parts of her body, which greatly disappointed the viewers. Host, why did you censor such a scumbag? Please expose her. Vertex. Chapter 2339. Yes, yes, yes. Such a shameless person, expose her. Host, don't stand on ceremony. The audience tried their best to persuade her, but Tangua did not say anything. Seeing this, everyone understood that this streamer had her own thoughts and only did things according to her own thoughts. If she was unwilling to do it, it was useless no matter how fiercely they shouted. Next, the scene was of that woman and the principal panicking. No matter where the principal went, the scene followed. As for the 6th scene, everyone turned their attention to it. They hurriedly took a screenshot of this scene. It turned out that this scene was the main entrance of this school. Now, all the information was exposed. At first, the principal thought that he could still save them. He ran to the field and gathered all the administrators to discuss countermeasures. Little did he know that the live stream screen had returned to another interface. It showed them discussing countermeasures and saying that they were not afraid of being investigated. They said that the children here were all sent by their parents. The previous scene seemed to be playing out again. Someone suggested hiding the injured children or asking their parents to bring them back. It was also the fault of the person who called the principal previously. When he found out that his voice was also transmitted to the live stream, he was so scared that he didn't dare to say anything else. Afraid that he would implicate himself, he hung up without saying the main information. Until now, the principal only thought that someone had reported their school and asked the entire school to prepare for an inspection. He didn't know that they were discussing countermeasures in exasperation and saying that they were nosy. The entire internet was scolding them. Tangua purposely blocked the signal here so that the person who wanted to inform them couldn't call in. Under normal circumstances, such a school would be built in a more remote place. It was normal for the signal to be bad occasionally. No one would have thought that someone had tampered with it. The students in the school were all standing on the field. Not long after, Instructor Su came over with an electric baton and directed them into the classroom. As for the girl from before and Lu Qian, they planned to bring them out to hide or send them to their parents. No matter what, they couldn't let the inspectors see anything wrong. As people from the outside world couldn't send them messages, their actions were watched by the entire internet. Remember to tell their parents about the seriousness of the matter. I hope they will cooperate. This is for everyone's good, the principal instructed. Go quickly. Instructor Su was the one who sent him off. Unbeknownst to the people in the school, the live stream was divided into 2 interfaces. One was the principal of the school, and the other was Instructor Sue, who was sitting in the van and looking after a few injured and sick children. The principal even went to patrol the classrooms. He looked very calm and didn't seem to be out of place. They had a proper business license. As for the school, they announced to the public, it was not a school to abstain from the internet, but a school of traditional arts and crafts. Inside the school were classes on various traditional cultures. In order to deal with the usual checks, they did attend these classes. The audience looked at the class that had suddenly changed. If they hadn't seen everything before, even if they walked to the scene, they might have been confused and thought that this was really a school for learning traditional culture. Vertex. Chapter 2340. This group of evildoers was really too cunning. Tanghua was learning how to make all kinds of beautiful knots from the female administrator. The female administrator was the one who had an affair with the principal. Not to mention anything else, she did seem to have some ability in this aspect. She didn't resist, unlike many students who looked expectant. As long as one wasn't a fool, one could guess that someone might have come to the school to investigate. The school had no choice but to come up with a corresponding countermeasure. If he could use this opportunity to escape, the principal thought that everything was arranged properly and that no one would find anything. Therefore, when the police came, he walked out easily. Unexpectedly, the police handcuffed his hands with cold handcuffs. He was brought out in a daze and met Instructor Sue, who had been captured. There were also medical staff helping Lu Qian and that girl check their bodies and treat their wounds. As they had watched the live stream, they were more prepared. These children had suffered so much. It was better to bring the medical staff along. They were indeed useful. When they came, they calculated the children here and chartered a car over. In the end, they pulled all the children back. As for the account books that the principal had secretly hidden previously, they were all found in front of him. The other party accurately found them, causing the principal to look suspiciously at the female administrator from before. After all, this woman knew where his things were. You betrayed me. The principal gritted his teeth. I didn't. How could I betray you? When the audience in the live stream saw this, it was terrible. What was a dog biting a dog? This was a dog biting the mouth. The school definitely couldn't be saved. There was something wrong with all the administrators. There were also so many viewers who witnessed it with their own eyes and who knew how many secrets were hidden in that thick account book. But these things were no longer Tanghua's business. She had also been brought back. The police had already informed her parents. As for the other children's parents, they all rushed over. Lu Qian's injuries were serious and he was sent to the hospital. The girl who was on her period was also sent to the hospital. Later on, Tanghua heard that the girl's parents were filled with regret. They had always wanted to make it up to that girl, but it was too late. There were also parents who didn't regret it at all and even blamed the police for being nosy. Lu Qian's parents and Tanghua's parents were typical. Lu Qian was already an adult. Now that he was out, he definitely wouldn't fall for it again. Even if his parents didn't give him an ID card, he could just report the loss of such a thing and make a replacement in another place. I heard that his parents went to visit him but were turned away. His team members and fans all came to see him. When they saw his parents, they stopped them. His parents left in exasperation, declaring that he would never return. Lu Qian heaved a sigh of relief. He really couldn't do anything to them. After all, he couldn't really do anything extreme. Once he recovered, he would definitely return to the team and start his own dreams with his brothers. Your body hasn't recovered yet, so don't touch the computer at this time. If you dare touch it again, I'll take your computer away. Okay, doctor, I won't touch it. I'll listen to you, okay? Vertex. Chapter 2341. Lu Qian looked at this beautiful female doctor in front of him. He heard that she was an intern in this hospital and was only slightly older than him. Alright, 3 to 5 years older, not much older. In this society, age wasn't that important. She wasn't too old either. Doctor, my hand hurts a little and is very numb. I suddenly can't exert any strength. Let me see. Lu Qian looked at the female doctor who walked over and checked his body. His lips curled up happily. Tanggua, who had originally planned to observe how Lu Qian was, silently looked away when she saw this scene. This mouthful of dog food really made her speechless. The male and female leads are still the male and female leads. No matter what, they can meet. Why is Fang Ilu interning here? This hospital was a big hospital. It was not easy to intern here. Her father is the director of this hospital. Previously, she went to that school for an internship because she quarreled with her family and was angry. She just went to relax. After that incident, she reconciled with her family and was even better than before. I see. As she was not around in the plot, Lu Qian and Fang Ilu met in school. Fang Ilu had already quarreled with her family. Later on, she wanted to date Lu Qian, this brat who was a few years younger than her, causing her relationship with her family to worsen. As for this hospital, she naturally didn't mention it. She only knew that her background was not simple and that she should be a rich young lady. Tanggua had already been brought back by father and mother Tang. Before she was brought back, her parents were even criticized by the police. They said that Tanggua was already an adult and the internet was not a poisonous snake that could not be touched. The police were very busy and definitely didn't have the time to investigate all aspects. They had more important things to do. They couldn't control these muddle-headed parents who didn't know how to communicate with their children. They could criticize them. In everyone's opinion, once the parents knew the true colors of this school, they would definitely not push their children to torture them. They were family after all and would understand each other in the future. But they didn't know that this pair of stubborn parents answered yes on the surface, but in their hearts, they were scolding those nosy people. Now, they had just sent their daughter in for less than a week, and the school might close down again. It was still exposed and sealed. This gave them a headache. Even though the money was returned, they did not give up looking for a school for Tanggua. The two of them kindly led Tanggua into the car. On the way back, the two of them were discussing what to do next. Tanggua felt a little regretful when she found out that most of their money had been returned. Seeing that they didn't dismiss the idea of sending her to a school, she curled her lips and closed her eyes. That was great. Now, she could finally realize her dream of destroying a school by studying in one school. There shouldn't be many people with such a miraculous physique. Madam Host, there's a car following us. Hearing the system's strange voice, Tanggua asked, who is it? Who else could it be? It's Senior Qin Pan, the one who asked you if the equipment was good enough to test it out. Little brother numbers. Although the host has the grand dream of crushing all those schools, don't forget to get into a sweet relationship and show off some dog food when you accomplish your dream, right? The system urged. Although the host has the grand dream of crushing all those schools, don't forget to get into a sweet relationship and show off some PDA or something, right? Vertex. Chapter 2342. He didn't like to eat other people's dog food, but it was good to eat his host's dog food once in a while. Especially when he found out that the guy in the previous world was actually that cat, he was depressed for a long time. Don't worry about him. Since he didn't come directly to me, he must be suspicious. Previously, Qin Pan had always felt uneasy. When he heard about Tanggua's home, he thought of a way to find out her home address from the school. The address was with the counselor, so it was really easy to find it. If he didn't feel that something was wrong, he wouldn't have done this. He couldn't relax if he didn't see her for a day. Then, he bought a plane ticket and flew over. The employee in his shop thought that his little boss was going to get some more advanced equipment. When he arrived in an unfamiliar city, Chin Pan went straight to Tangwa's home. Because of the suspicion in his heart, he didn't knock on the door directly. When father and mother Tang came back and confirmed that they were Tangwa's parents, he planned to secretly follow them. If Tangwa was really treating her illness, they would definitely go to the hospital. Chin Pan had been following father and mother Tang and found that they didn't go to the so-called hospital at all, nor did he see Tangwa appear. When he sent a message to Tangwa, she would respond. He had a feeling that things were not simple, so he stayed here and followed father and mother Tang's whereabouts. Fortunately, the two of them worked in the same unit, so he didn't have to find someone to watch the other person. Just after noon today, the two of them came out of the unit in a hurry for some reason. He didn't even think about it and directly followed them. The two of them came to the police station. In the end, what was even more unbelievable was that the two of them brought Tangwa out of the police station. Wasn't she sick? Why did she come out of the police station? Did she commit a crime? No, he subconsciously thought that she wouldn't commit a crime. Other than watching Tangwa's live broadcast, he usually looked at the latest news, information, and organization of the equipment. He rarely had the time to look at the news on the internet. Therefore, although the internet was in an uproar at the quitting internet addiction school, he was so focused on the whereabouts of Tangwa that he didn't care about that at all. It wasn't until Tangwa was taken upstairs by the couple that Chin Pan breathed a sigh of relief. He rented a room across the street. This room happened to face Tangwa's house. When he returned to the house, he first sent a message to Tangwa. He did not ask if she had recovered from her illness. Instead, he asked, "When can you go back to school?" "Probably not yet." After receiving the news, Chin Pan sat in his room and frowned. What was going on? She was not sick, so why couldn't she go back to school? Why was she brought out of the police station? Also, why didn't she tell him the truth? Was there something she couldn't tell him? Well, they weren't that close, so it was normal for her not to say anything. However, he was still worried and decided to observe for a while longer. This observation lasted for a week. This week, Tangwa rarely went out. Even when she went out, it was either Mother Tang or Father Tang who brought her out. He had a feeling that no matter where she went, they would watch her, as if afraid that she would run away. With this doubt in his mind, Chin Pan felt that things were not as simple as they seemed. He directly applied for a long leave from the school. After all, his grades were good, so he wouldn't have any problems with his final exams. Peak. Chapter 23:43. Even if there were any problems, they could just go back and take the makeup exam. If they couldn't take the makeup exam, they could just retake it. It was Monday. Chin Pan thought that the couple would go to work as usual. He didn't expect them to not go to work at the same time and even take Tangwa out. Chin Pan felt that things weren't that simple, so he followed them. They didn't go far. Instead, they took Tangwa to an alley not far from their house. There was a van parked there. Then, he watched as Tangwa was sent into the van. The few fierce-looking men smiled at Mr. and Mrs. Tang. Unfortunately, he was too far away and couldn't hear what they were saying. Even so, Chin Pan was extremely anxious. He called Tangwa. Naturally, no one picked up. Then, he texted Tangwa. Still, there was a reply. Looking at Tangwa's reply, he suspected that it wasn't from her, but her parents. But her parents were standing next to her, chatting and laughing with the man. Qin Pan frowned and looked at Tang Guo's reply. Finally, he decided to follow them secretly. Maybe he could find out something. He followed them until they reached the end of the road. Because there was a highway along the way, the people in front didn't realize that the car was following them. But Qin Pan was still afraid that they would find out, so he took a picture of their license plate number. Later, when they got off the highway, he found an opportunity to change cars and let the car continue to follow them at a distance. Soon, they caught up. Midway, he changed cars a few times. Although the people in the car in front knew that there was always a car behind them, they didn't suspect anything because it wasn't just one car. Finally, Qin Pan followed them to a school. Although this school was known as a school to get rid of the internet, its name wasn't a school to get rid of the internet. More and more incidents had happened in the past few years. Today, 2 incidents had happened. They didn't dare to be careless. Of course, they didn't think that they would be so unlucky to be targeted. But with the lesson of the past, they were very careful in everything they did. Every corner of the school had been cleaned up by them to ensure that there were no surveillance cameras. Anyone who entered or left the school would be searched, no matter who they were. They were really scared by the previous 2 incidents. After all, most of the operations of a school to get rid of the internet were similar. These disobedient children, other than physical punishment and discipline, couldn't really be taught by chanting scriptures. Impossible. After Tang Guo was brought in, Qin Pan asked someone to drive the car away. But before he drove off, he remembered the name of the school. He found a place with a good signal and searched the school. No matter what, it was still a school to get rid of the internet. It was still a school to get rid of the internet. After all, on the internet, many parents of children who had successfully quit the internet had commented on the benefits of this school. This was not like the later years, when there was an explosion of data and people had to join all kinds of groups to solve problems. Some parents saw the internet as a poisonous scorpion. After reading all the information, Qin Ting finally guessed something. She had actually been sent to a school for internet abstinence. Qin Pan clenched his fists, not knowing what to do. At this time, he continued to look through the information on the internet. Finally, he saw the recent hot news about the school to get rid of the internet. Naturally, he saw 2 cases of corporal punishment and the closure of the school. Peak. Chapter 2344. He had always been a meticulous person when it came to reading things. Now that it involved Tang Guo, he was even more meticulous. He even wrote down the time, place, and what had happened in a notebook. Then, as soon as he wrote it down, he realized that something was wrong. He remembered that Tang Guo had been picked up by her husband and wife from the police station at the same time that the anti-internet school was being investigated. He flipped through other news and confirmed that it was indeed that day. There was also a mention of a certain live stream. He hurriedly went to look for it. However, the replay of that live stream was still deleted. After all, it involved too much underage violence. However, some netizens saved the video and used other means. He spent some money to buy the complete replay. All the students in the anti-internet school were censored and wearing the same uniform. Moreover, it was impossible for everyone to be recorded. He could not find Tang Guo. However, this was no longer important. He suspected that Tang Guo had left suddenly last time because she had been sent to the anti-internet school that had been closed down. However, he had other doubts. Did the anti-internet school allow students to bring their cell phones? If she did not bring her cell phone, who were the people who had been texting him these few days? If they were her parents, they should not have bothered to talk to him. He could also feel that the tone of the voice belonged to her. Thinking of this, Qin Pan sent another message to Tang Guo. A set of high-end equipment has returned to the store. It has a lot of functions. I don't know when you will be able to come back to school. Tanggua, I will come and take a look when I come back. I will keep it for you. However, you have to come back early. If you come back late, there may be more high-end equipment. Then I will look at the more high-end equipment. Her tone was very relaxed. He was familiar with it. It was her. However, how could she have a cell phone? He did not believe that the anti-internet school allowed students to bring their cell phones. If they were really careful and patient enough to educate their students, there would not be all kinds of corporal punishment. This anti-internet school understood the mentality of many parents. No matter what method was used, as long as their rebellious and disobedient children were taught to be obedient, they would fulfill their parents' wishes. Even if a life was lost, at most, they would make a fuss and compensate some money. Chin Pan was very worried about Tanggua, but he had no way to bring her out. Even if he thought of a way to bring her out, what reason could he use to ensure that this matter would be completely resolved? Now, he was sure that the person who sent him the message was Tanggua. It was very strange that she could bring her phone with her. Chin Pan looked up a lot more information about this school. One of the things that was clearly stated was that students who came to class were absolutely not allowed to bring their phones. Chin Pan was trying to think of a way, and looking up information. At the same time, he would send messages to Tanggua every day to confirm her situation. Seeing her message, her tone was very relaxed. He even tried to send her messages at different times. Other than at night, she would reply to him immediately at other times. This was strange. Wasn't she sent here by her parents to quit the internet? He had already given up on the internet, yet he was still allowed to have a mobile phone. It was too strange. No matter how curious Chin Pan was, Tanggua continued to observe the new school. It's bigger than the previous school. It looks very new. It should have been built not long ago. The tables, chairs, and beds in the dormitory are all very new. Vertex. Chapter 23:45. There are also many administrators. There are more than 10 instructors. This school is quite capable. The tuition fee for a student alone is 50 to 60,000, not to mention the other expenses. The system heard Tanggua's comments about the new school and did not know what to say. It only said softly, "Dear host, when are you going to start broadcasting? Your cutie is worried sick outside. Look, he's sending you messages now and then. I think he's afraid that you'll get beaten up here. There's no hurry. I'll observe for 2 more days. Wait until I've observed their process clearly. Oh right, follow the principal and administrators of this school." A few more days passed, and Chin Pan still could not think of a good idea. In fact, he had thought of a plan that was not a plan, but because of one thing, he did not do it for the time being. The Today's Highlights live stream that he had been keeping an eye on had released a preview of the live stream time yesterday. The time of the preview was tomorrow. Just like before, there was no specific time. In the past, Chin Pan rarely hung out on the internet. He would only go to a certain forum or information network when he was looking for something. As for games, he was not addicted to them. In the past 2 days, he might have spent more time online than he did in the past few months. Moreover, he had adapted to the online environment very well. Through the screen, he collected a lot of useful information from the gossipy netizens. The Today's Highlights live stream had the most information. It was said that the host of this live stream had not shown up yet and had only broadcasted 3 times. Chin Pan was impressed that he had managed to destroy 2 anti-internet schools in 3 live streams. This host was really a ruthless person. He was not interested in this host. He was more interested in the secret camera equipment in his hands. He did not know what kind of advanced equipment it was. It did not attract anyone's attention at such a close distance. He really did not know where such equipment came from. Chin Pan did not use the method he had in mind. He was waiting. He was waiting to see what the scene would be when the host started broadcasting tomorrow. If it was this school, that would be the best. If not, he would use the previous method. Soon, it was midnight. Chin Pan had taken a short nap in the car and woke up at midnight. Although he knew that the live stream would not be broadcasted at this time, he was no longer sleepy. He saw the bullet screen filled with comments. These netizens were like him, unable to sleep. Tonight was truly a sleepless night. At the same time, the police officers who had been waiting at the police station all night also received the news. Even though their eyes were red, they still stared at it without blinking. Tanghua actually knew that to be able to open such a school, the relationship must be complicated. Even if the school was closed, those who helped the tyrant might not necessarily be punished. But that wasn't important. She couldn't care less about the world. As long as the couple didn't dismiss the idea of sending her to a school for abstinence from online gambling, she promised that whichever school she went to would be destroyed and they would be in a terrible fix. Originally, she wanted to drag it out for a while and let those people spend all the money earlier. Then, they wouldn't return it to the couple, which would make their hearts ache. However, the system had been recording everything in every corner recently, so she couldn't delay any longer. Vertex. Chapter 2347. The person educating them was either the school administrator or the 6 or 7 members. They were all from the outstanding dormitories. When they saw that the children listened to the administrator's preaching without hesitation and waved the whip without hesitation, the crowd felt their scalps go numb. Compared to the previous schools, they felt that the way this school operated was even more frightening. This was completely a split management, using violence to curb violence. Without thinking too deeply, they could guess that the school must have used the method of evaluating the outstanding dormitories to select the obedient and well-behaved students who did everything according to the instructions of the school administrator. Then, this group of members would supervise the others. As long as this group of people received benefits and were not punished, the others would learn from them. In the long run, even if the newcomers wanted to escape, they would be discovered by the members even if the administrator didn't find out. This was because the school's network had been blocked by them. They had to go very far to get a signal. Therefore, they didn't think that what happened on the network would happen here. Also, Tanghua had asked the system to block all their calls. This meant that at this time, they could only make calls to the outside, and the outside couldn't make any calls. The system was already very familiar with doing all these. Countless people saw that the group of teenagers were being educated in such a way by other teenagers of the same age. Anger rose in their hearts, but because they were separated by a screen, they couldn't release their anger. Was this teaching the children to be obedient? This was obviously teaching the children how to hurt others. These people were really inhumane. Of course, the police also immediately performed facial recognition on those who weren't censored. Very quickly, they obtained their identities and workplaces. The live broadcast didn't disappoint them. Since the start of the broadcast, it hadn't been disconnected. Every nook and cranny of the anti-internet school had been captured. Every corner of the school that could not be seen by others had been captured. At the same time, the account book taken from the live broadcast was also taken away. This time, because phone calls were blocked, they were caught in a daze. They thought that it would be the same as before, that they could use their connections to settle this matter. Wasn't it just beating a few disobedient students? No lives were lost. Who knew that when their family members got the phone number they gave, it was either switched off or not in use? Obviously, what was shown in the live broadcast was that they couldn't protect them. they could only protect themselves. At this time, no one would stand up for them. This was evidence that the whole internet knew, and it was a live broadcast. What could they do? As a result, the first school that Tang Guo attended collapsed again after just one more week of studying. Chapter 23:48. When Tang Guo was taken out of the school, Qin Pan was watching silently from the corner of the crowd. The live broadcast had stopped when the police arrived. Because Tang Guo's voice had been edited, he did not hear anything. He only saw that Tang Guo was brought out in one piece and did not suffer any injuries. His heart relaxed. Thinking of his own suspicions, he did not go up to her. Since she did not say anything and looked so calm, his intuition told him that things were not that simple. So he decided to wait and see. As for the plan he had thought of before, it was probably not necessary now. But before Qin Pan could breathe a sigh of relief, at the entrance of the police station, he found that Tang Guo had been taken away by her parents. He secretly sent a message to Tang Guo to ask when she would be returning to school. He was a little disappointed when he heard that she would not be going back for the time being. Thinking of the couple's anger and helplessness, he did not know if it was because they did not see anyone when they came out of the police station that they scolded softly. The internet was full of nosy people. Qin Pan did not feel good. Why did she have such parents? Did they love her or want to harm her? Soon, Qin Pan found the answer. Because in less than 2 days, Tang Guo's parents found a new school for her. Qin Pan, she had already ruined 2 schools. Did the couple really not know that and still wanted to send her there? It was obvious that she was at odds with the school. It was not the school that cursed her, it was she who cursed the school. Perhaps it was because Tang Guo was fine. Even though her freedom seemed to be restricted, other than not being able to call him, she was still in contact with him. Qin Pan was not so worried. In fact, he had more doubts in his heart. He even wondered if she knew that she had such a magical body and might as well go along with her parents' wishes and obediently go to the school. Anyway, her body was cursed by the school. Every school she went to would collapse, so it could be considered as getting rid of a scourge. Regardless of whether others believed it or not, he believed it. But in his heart, Qin Pan was still worried. After seeing that she was sent to the school, he was ready to implement his plan. Tang Guo had been at the new school for 2 days. Although the environment was not as good as the previous school, she was adapting very well. While they were eating, Tang Guo complained to the system, "The conditions of this school are not as good. After all, it's much cheaper. There aren't many pieces of meat. Although the school is strict, under normal circumstances, the food is still pretty good. This is to prevent the parents from seeing us starving and losing weight when they come. Moreover, the parents are the ones paying for this." The system was speechless and secretly asked, "Dear host, how long do you plan to use to destroy this school? Let's see how it goes." So far, this school hasn't done anything out of line. Most likely, it was because the previous incident had blown up and they had become more cautious. However, that was how he really was. They couldn't pretend to be like him. After a certain amount of time, they will give themselves away. On the 3rd day, when Tang Guo was eating, she saw a familiar face. This familiar face even sat in front of her with a bowl. Senior Qin. Tang Guo looked around and lowered her voice. "Why are you here?" After so many days, Qin Pan was finally able to talk to her face to face, although he had spent a lot of money to get in. Vertex. Chapter 23:49. She had spent money to hire a couple to pretend to be his parents and paid half a year's worth of tuition, which was more than 10,000 yuan. Not to mention the living expenses, it was also a large sum of money. However, these things were no longer important when he was sitting in front of her and hearing her call him Senior Chin. No matter how much she spent, it was worth it as long as she could see him. Moreover, he still had the ability to earn money. When he had time in the future, he had to do more research and earn more money. My family thinks that I'm addicted to the internet all day, so they sent me here to quit, Chin Pan said softly. So you're not sick? You were sent here. At this time, Tang Guo did not intend to hide this. Instead, she said truthfully, yeah, they are very against me being a broadcaster. They think that I'm a disgrace to public morals and that I'm embarrassing them. Counting the schools, this is already the 4th school I've attended. Chin Pan was shocked. He stuttered, aren't there only 2? The first 2 were ruined by you. Including this one, it's only the 3rd. Before those 2, there was another one. Tang Guo lowered her voice again. That one also failed. Chin Pan pursed his lips tightly and almost burst out laughing. So, did she study until she failed 3 schools to stop the internet? If this school failed as well, it would be 4. He blinked. He wondered if she was so calm that she wanted to ruin all the schools in the country. If she had such a grand wish, would he have to follow her? The school did not really care about the conversations between students. As long as they did not run away, were obedient in class, and followed their instructions, it would be fine. From this day onwards, Chin Pan would meet Tang Guo every day during mealtimes. The 2 of them would talk about some topics as they ate. Other than the first day when they talked about being sent here, they did not talk about this anymore. Tang Guo was waiting. Waiting for the school to give itself away. Chin Pan was also waiting. He was waiting for the school to fail because of Tang Guo's physical condition. When he came in, he had nothing on him except for some money. Things like cell phones were definitely not allowed to be brought in. Therefore, he was very curious about what method Tang Guo used to send him a short message. But seeing that she didn't take the initiative to say anything, he didn't ask even though he was curious. This wait lasted for a month, and the internet gradually calmed down. At Tang Guo's school, the final exams were about to begin. On this day, during dinner, Tang Guo whispered to Chin Pan, Senior Chin, if you don't go back now, you'll miss the exam. There are some subjects in the school that don't allow make-up exams, so you can only retake them. Tang Guo's words made Chin Pan understand one thing. She knew now. She knew that he had not been sent here by his parents to quit the internet. He had come here on purpose. He looked at her deeply. There were some things that he couldn't ask here. Then, he hesitated for a moment and said softly, then I'll go back and take the exam first. It's really troublesome to retake some courses. I'll come back to accompany you after the exam. Fortunately, no one else heard this. Otherwise, they would suspect that Chin Pan's brain was sick. Was he crazy? Did he really think that this was his back garden? Okay, you go ahead and take the exam first. Tang Guo pursed her lips and smiled. But I'm very curious. Why did Senior Chin still want to come back? Chin Pan's ears turned red. He stared at her, his eyes sparkling like a little puppy. Peek. Chapter 2350. Chin Pan looked left and right before saying in a voice that only she could hear, because you're here. After saying that, he seemed a little embarrassed and lowered his head to eat. Even though he felt her gaze, he didn't look up, but his exposed ears were getting redder and redder. When he was about to finish eating, he heard a soft and pleasant voice. Then I'll wait for you. Chin Pan quickly looked up and could only see Tang Guo's back view. He really wanted to chase after her, but he understood that this wasn't a real university campus. It wasn't a big deal to talk to a female classmate, but if he really tried to date her here, he would definitely be punished. Thus, he could only restrain himself and silently say that he would come back as soon as possible. Because when he came, he had instructed the couple that he hired to come and visit him every 3 to 5 days. It just so happened that they were coming tomorrow. This time, he gave them a secret signal, and the couple told the school that they wanted to take him away. If his parents wanted to take him away, the school couldn't stop them. However, if they took the initiative to take him away, the school fees wouldn't be refunded. Actually, the school would be more relaxed and happy to do so. In the end, Chin Pan left. They didn't have to take the exam every day. They might have to queue for a week, or they might have to queue for more than 10 days. In any case, Chin Pan appeared in front of Tangguo again half a month later. After eating, Chin Pan sneakily slipped Tangguo a chocolate. Tangguo didn't stand on ceremony and accepted it with a smile. Then, she saw the boy in front of her smiling foolishly. If it weren't for the occasion, she would have raised her hand and patted his head. "What do you want to eat? I'll get someone to send it in." Regarding this, the school definitely wouldn't restrict it. When Chin Pan was sent back, his parents had instructed them to only lock him up and not to punish him. They even said that their son's heart wasn't good and couldn't take it. If anything happened, they would expose them. They just wanted to find a place to lock him up and not let him touch the computer. This pair of parents seemed especially difficult to deal with. Moreover, they came every 3 to 5 days. Even if the school administrator wanted to punish Chin Pan, he couldn't do anything. After all, they had already instructed him. Besides, the other party was generous with money. There was no reason to reject such a client. Also, after Chin Pan came in, he was quite obedient. He didn't run away, didn't make a fuss, and didn't cause any trouble. Even if they wanted to punish him, they couldn't find an opportunity. His parents had already said that his heart was not good. If there was really a problem, seeing how the couple came over once every 3 to 5 days, it might be that they really treasured their son and just wanted to find a place for him without a computer. This was all planned out by Chin Pan. "Anything?" Chin Pan thought for a moment and said, "Anything that can be brought up is fine." In fact, he was wondering why the school hadn't collapsed even though it had been almost 2 months since the incident. If Tangguo could hear his thoughts, she would probably say, "Soon." Perhaps the rumors had died down, and the school had gradually revealed its true colors. Almost every once in a while, a new child would be sent in to quit the internet. There would definitely be those who would cry, make a fuss, and run away. In order to subdue these disobedient children, it was very normal to take some corporal punishment in this kind of anti-internet school. They had held back for so long because they were afraid that something would go wrong. Vertex. Chapter 2351. So much time had passed, so there shouldn't be any problems, right? Moreover, they had asked people to keep an eye on the live stream room. If there was a live stream announcement, they would pay attention during those few days. No matter how serious the situation was, they would not punish the students. Unexpectedly, Tangguo did not play by the rules. This time, she did not announce the time of the live stream. When many people were not paying attention, the live stream room suddenly showed an image. When the image of the live stream room appeared, the school's external network was blocked. In other words, under the interference of the system, no matter what kind of network news was transmitted, it had to be filtered by him before it could be seen by the people in the school. Even if it was a phone call or a message, it would first be transmitted to him. After he filtered it, it would then be transmitted to the phones of the people in the school. How would the people in the school know that there was someone in this world who had a heaven-defying existence like the system? With the increase of energy, the system had leveled up many times. In any case, its ability was very heaven-defying. Basically, in the network of these small worlds, he could not find a match. Previously, he had encountered so many systems, no matter whether they were good or bad, even if they had a serial number, they were all defeated by him. Humph, they could not beat him. The system thought arrogantly. While following Tangua's instructions, it broadcasted some of the images that were happening in the school to the audience. At the same time, it captured the news from the outside world. In fact, when Tangua came to the school, she had already asked the system to control all the communication and network devices in the school. They could only see what she wanted them to see. After all, she did not want to be interrupted in the middle of the live stream and asked to destroy the evidence. Now that things were getting out of hand, she had already destroyed 3 schools. Things could not be so coincidental. The other schools should be vigilant and would not give themselves away so easily. Therefore, when she entered the school, she had to control all their communication and network devices. Then, she could proceed to the next step and catch all of them in one fell swoop. Even if many people hated her to the core, they could not do anything to her. Even if someone wanted to block her live stream room, they would have to try to block it. The live stream was still in progress. Recently, Chin Pan had seen several cases where the administrators of the school scolded, punched, kicked, and used tools to hurt the students who were sent to the school. Even if he was furious, there was nothing he could do. Now, he was eager to see if the live stream was broadcasting all of this. If not, when would the live stream be broadcasted here, exposing these people's evil deeds under the sun and letting the masses know of their evil deeds? Chin Pan also discovered one thing. Tangguo was very calm. No matter what she did, no matter what happened in school, she was very calm. Even if she occasionally made some small mistakes and the administrator punished her to clean the toilets, she didn't resist. Many times, he would secretly help her clean the toilets. He really wanted to ask her why she adapted so well. On second thought, he had followed her here to quit the internet and used a method that made people feel like he was crazy. It was obvious that he wasn't any better. Do you want to go out? Vertex. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.